Hello again everyone, welcome to the channel. Today I'm reviewing the Weeylite Ninja 400 Mark II, which I've actually had as my key light for the past few videos. And you might have seen a few weeks back I reviewed the Weeylite Ninja 300. Well, don't for 1 second think that this is just an uprated version of that, because it's not. In fact, the similarities between the two pretty much start and end with the fact that they include the words Weeylite, Ninja and 100. This is a 150 watt bi-color LED light that's currently retailing for $400. It offers a color temperature range from 2800 up to 6800 Kelvin and a CRI of 95, which could make it very appealing to some, as most types of light that I've tested so far tend to be a fixed color temperature. And the maximum brightness of this is rated at 12,750 lumens. Now, it has a Bowens mount at the front, which I am so glad to see. That was really my biggest criticism of the 300, was that it wasn't a Bowens mount. Because a Bowens mount just gives you access to such a large selection of light modifiers. But the very first thing that actually caught my eye with this when I unboxed it is just the size of the thing. I mean, this is pretty much a similar size to the Godox SL60, despite this being double the power. Though it is solidly built with a metal skin and a very large heatsink and a full metal U-bracket as well, which allows for this to actually be mounted horizontal for more of a top-down angle. However, that extra build quality does put the weight of the light unit alone at a shade under 1.9 kilos. Now, as you may suspect, part of the reason they've managed to keep this relatively small is that all of the power management aspects have been kept separate from the light, which is not uncommon these days. However, the amount of separate stuff was somewhat of a surprise. From your wall socket, there is a cable which runs to a fairly sizable 860 gram transformer block. Then the output from this runs into a very large controller unit with a bracket on the side that lets you mount this to your light stand. This adds a further 1.4 kilos, bringing the total weight of the entire unit to just over 4 kilos, which is pretty damn heavy. You do get a pretty decent case for storage and for transport, although perhaps a truck would have been more useful. Now, a big chunk of the weight is this metal controller unit and bracket, but one feature that this does have is that on the back of it there is a mounting plate for a V-mount battery, which this then allows you to dispense with the power block and the mains cable to make the light completely portable. Now, unfortunately, I don't own any V-mount batteries in order to test this out in detail. However, there were some customer reviews that I've seen online from people who've bought this light and used V-mount batteries with it, and it seems that under battery power, the maximum output is capped at 55%, which, to be fair, 55% is far more than I've been using for these sorts of videos, so it's still a reasonably decent amount of light, but obviously it's nowhere near as the full beans 100%. There is then a fan and a heatsink, which, coupled with the metal skin, does help keep this thing nice and chilled out. I have seen some reviews of people complaining about the fan being very noisy. I haven't found that to be the case at all. There is like a slight whir from the fan, but it's barely noticeable unless you've literally got your ear next to the thing. I mean, I am currently using the SL60, the Ninja 300, and the Golden Eagle 3000, and this is by far the quietest of the four. But the light does have a quiet mode which slows down the speed of the fan so it's even less noisy. However, doing this does limit your maximum selectable brightness to only 50%. Now, controlling the light, you have 4 options. There is either the controller unit, there is an included Bluetooth remote, there is the Weeylite phone app, which finds and connects to the light very quickly, or you can connect a DMX console via the ports on the bottom of the controller unit. Now, for basic video, the controller unit is absolutely fine. The remote does get the job done, but it feels a little bit more confusing. However, when trying to navigate some of the more specific options like the special effects tabs, I found this and the controller to be a little bit clunky at times, and personally found it far easier in those instances to connect up the app instead. My biggest complaint about the controller hub, however, is the cable layout, because the input cable that brings power from the power supply plugs into a port at the top, while the output cable which runs to the light is at the bottom. Now, unless I'm missing something, I would have thought that it would make more sense to have these the other way round, given the fact that the power supply sits below the controller and the light generally sits above it. With this setup, you lose some potential in how high you can mount the light off the floor, because the cables end up doubling back on themselves. I mean, whilst the output coming out the bottom and looping up to the light isn't as much of a concern, what is more of a concern is the weight of the power supply pulling on the connection that's wedged in at the top. And what I've actually been doing is sacrificing more cable to wrap the cable up and over one of the tension arms on my light stand. Again, not actually a huge drawback for me because I have the light at relatively low heights. But if you're someone considering this light in, say, a studio with very high ceilings that you're going to want to mount it high up, it is something to bear in mind. Overall, I suspect this is going to be a very Marmite light. You're either going to love it or hate it. I mean, it offers some great features, it works perfect for these sorts of videos, and it is built like an absolute tank. However, it also carries the weight of one, and it's got some quirks that could be absolute deal breakers for some people. Now, if you're coming down on the love side of the fence, then there is an affiliate link to the light in the description down below, so please feel free to go and check it out. If you're coming down on the hate side of the fence, then just a personal thank you from me for sticking around this long. As always, if you have any questions or queries, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. While you're down there, please consider hitting the subscribe button and clicking that bell icon if you haven't already done so, and then hopefully, we'll see you in the next video.